couple of years ago. And I'm a sports guy. These days, the NBA playoffs and Formula One really move the needles for me. But enough about me, as the saying goes. Let's get you guys to share a little bit and look at the agenda for today. So to get started, we're going to do a little review. It's only going to be 5 minutes, but this is one of my favorite AI explainer videos. It's by a Chicago guy, Dr. Raj Ramesh, and I guarantee that you'll come out on the other side with a better idea of the scope of AI.
Artificial intelligence for people in a hurry. The easiest way to think about artificial intelligence is in the context of a human. After all, humans are the most intelligent creatures we know of. AI is a broad branch of computer science. The goal of AI is to create systems that can function intelligently and independently. Humans can speak and listen to communicate through language. This is the field of speech recognition. Much of speech recognition is statistically based. Hence, it's called statistical learning. Humans can write and read text in a language. This is the field of NLP, or natural language processing. Humans can see with their eyes and process what they see. This is the field of computer vision. Computer vision falls under the symbolic way for computers to process information. Recently, there's been another way, which I'll come to later. Humans recognize the scene around them through their eyes, which create images of that world. This field of image processing, which even though is not directly related to AI, is required for computer vision. Humans can understand their environment and move around fluidly. This is the field of robotics. Humans have the ability to see patterns, such as grouping of like objects. This is the field of pattern recognition. Machines are even better at pattern recognition because they can use more data and dimensions of data. This is the field of machine learning. Now let's talk about the human brain. The human brain is a network of neurons, and we use these to learn things. If we can replicate the structure and the function of the human brain, we might be able to get cognitive capabilities in machines. This is the field of neural networks. If these networks are more complex and deeper, and we use those to learn complex things, that is the field of deep learning. There are different types of deep learning in machines, which are essentially different techniques to replicate what the human brain does. If we get the network to scan images from left to right, top to bottom, it's a convolution neural network. A CNN is used to recognize objects in a scene. This is how computer vision fits in, and object recognition is accomplished through AI. Humans can remember the past, like what you had for dinner last night. Well, at least most of you. We can get a neural network to remember a limited past. This is a recurrent neural network. As you see, there are two ways AI works. One is symbolic-based, and another is data-based. For the data-based side, called machine learning, we need to feed the machine lots of data before it can learn. For example, if you had lots of data for sales versus advertising spend, you can plot that data to see some kind of a pattern. If the machine can learn this pattern, then it can make predictions based on what it has learned. While 1 or 2 or even 3 dimensions is easy for humans to understand and learn, machines can learn in many more dimensions, like even 100 or thousands. That's why machines can look at lots of high-dimensional data and determine patterns. Once it learns these patterns, it can make predictions that humans can't even come close to. We can use all these machine learning techniques to do one of two things: classification or prediction. As an example, when you use some information about customers to assign new customers to a group, like young adults, then you are classifying that customer. If you use data to predict if they're likely to defect to a competitor, then you're making a prediction. There's another way to think about learning algorithms used for AI. If you train an algorithm with data that also contains the answer, then it's called supervised learning. For example, when you train a machine to recognize your friends by name, you'll need to identify them for the computer. If you train an algorithm with data where you want the machine to figure out the patterns, then it's unsupervised learning. For example, you might want to feed the data about celestial objects in the universe and expect the machine to come up with patterns in that data by itself. If you give any algorithm a goal and expect the machine through trial and error to achieve that goal, then it's called reinforcement learning. A robot's attempt to climb over the wall until it succeeds is an example of that. So there you go. Thanks for watching, and if you like my videos, please subscribe.
And with that flurry of dramatic music, on to the next slide. Come on. Okay, so my goal today is to help you understand the technology from jargon all the way down to a practical level. Now, this particular slide is meant to be a resource to help you with the jargon that you'll inevitably have to use depending on how deep you get into AI. The terms on the slide itself are among the most popular today, provided you can associate tech jargon with something called popular. You've got 3 links there. The newbie link takes you to terms you'll end up using if your org subscribes to any of the popular AI services on the market, or maybe through your own use of the products you have. Some of the terms will be familiar, some won't. The intermediate link takes you to terms you end up knowing if you started working with networks, models, testing. The terms in the media link takes you to deeper terms you've probably seen in tech media. I would say put this doc or link or the whole presentation in a note or a folder that you use to collect information on topics of interest, because I guarantee you it'll come in handy later. You'll see a word and you'll go, holy cow, what the heck are they trying to do with that? So now we're going to take a look at generative AI. Check your resources doc and look for the generative AI section. I think this was going to drop that in. And yeah, look for the generative links in the AI section, and please open each of these, ChatGPT, another one, and Plicky, in different tabs. We're going to walk through each. So we'll start with generative text. So by definition, ChatGPT is an AI developed by OpenAI that generates human-like text responses based on the input it receives using deep learning techniques. And as Raj just told us, deep learning is a subset of machine learning that uses neural networks with multiple layers, blah, 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 with that definition, because it was quite technical and heavy. But I know you guys are thinking, I've worked with this, or I'm kind of familiar with this, and, how does this actually work outside of what I see? Can I really talk to this thing? And this is where we start talking about prompts, as was mentioned earlier. A prompt is an instruction for the machine to complete. A prompt can be simple, like summarize this article, or it might be a small paragraph of requests that result in a complex analysis, image, video, or audio file. Yeah, I think this one just dropped it in there. Go ahead, open those up, or open that up. Okay, that's it. All right, so let's go to the next one, which is going to be images. And Vishwa found a really cool link. Behance. So folks, click on that link. And while you do that and get in there, I'm going to talk a little bit about DALL-E, which is the model behind what you're doing. DALL-E is in the definition, DALL-E is an AI model developed by OpenAI that generates digital images from text descriptions using machine learning. When a user inputs a description, DALL-E processes the text to understand the elements described and then uses its training to generate an image that visually represents the described elements. If you guys have got that site open and you guys are playing with it, this is way too intuitive. It's so easy to see what you can do. Yeah, open up the whiteboard. This was going to open up a whiteboard. And if you can, drop either the link. There we go. Drop the image or a link to the image onto the whiteboard so we can see what you guys are creating.
It's generated one for a puppy in a field of flowers.
Hold on, let me do one.
Oh, there we go. So one way that I've used these before, Sebastian, is creating custom banners for events that are upcoming. And they can be a nice quick visual for folks.
Well, do your thing, paste. I just did mine. Caveman at the California coast. I guess I should have put him in a swimsuit. Okay, so now the last one that we're looking at is voice. Now, this was dropping a link to a site called Flicky.ai into the chat. And Flicky is one of many, many voice products out there. It's a web-based platform that uses AI to generate lifelike voiceovers and dynamic video content. You can start with text, you can use an AI voice, add media, you can use your own voice, you can instantly preview and edit what these voices record. Tools like Flicky are powered by Machine Audition, and unfortunately, they're in the news for creating deepfakes. If you're not familiar with deepfakes, it's when a person fabricates or uses someone else's voice or image to mislead people. Maybe a couple of months ago, a company was in the news for using Joe Biden's voice for bad purposes. Good and bad things about deepfakes. On the one hand, deepfakes are projected to be one of the biggest sources of abuse and fraud. In late April, someone used the voice of a Maryland school principal in racist and sexist social media posts, caused a huge kerfuffle. But on the other hand, this kind of technology helps patients with ALS to imprint their voice to an electronic emulator. It's a process called voice boxing. And voice boxing means that that person's voice remains no matter what happens to their body. So there you have it. On one hand, on the other hand, it's the promise and the danger of AI. And an example of the choices that you kind of have to, that we will have to navigate as we move forward with this technology. You know, can we limit one, expand the other? I don't know. We're not here to opine. We're here to learn. So let's take a few minutes. People, go ahead, click into Flicky, play around with it, and put your impressions in the chat.
So this one on the screen here, I tested it earlier. So if you want to play that, Sebastian, to say
Which one?
The one on the screen, the audio. If you hover over it, it'll let you play it.
Well, no wonder. I'm looking at,
Hello, data cohort. How are we doing today?
So I was able to just
Oh,
put in my
cohort.
text
How are
prompt,
we
and
doing
it
today?
just generated the audio. I
Yep.
was able to download it direct from there.
all right, so let's get moving. We've been having fun. Let's keep learning. All right, so let's turn to LLMs and the evolution of the chatbot. So chatbots were big from 2015 to about 2018. At the time, they were seen as a forward-thinking way to capture feedback and provide faster access to forums, frequently asked question information, and live people. It made them perfect for customer service. But when you came to deploying a chatbot, possibly not in customer service, one of the tricks was that you had to map out the full dynamics of the full scope of the conversation. And that's where it went wrong. So when I say mapping out conversations, I mean, you start with the greeting, and then you map out some, your most obvious answers. Hello, hi, I'm looking for, and you literally continue mapping out what the next or what the options of a person would say after a particular question. I've tried it. You have to keep it simple. Otherwise, it just gets way too much, way too confusing. And a lot of times you end up breaking the bot. And that's kind of what happened. People didn't map the conversations well. They thought through most of the options, but they didn't think through the whole thing. Other people were just too ambitious in what they were trying to do. What is the problem with inadequate conversation mapping? It results in a bot that hangs, it stops working, or sends you back to the beginning of the process. It basically just becomes something for people to take out their frustrations on. And it was a shame because there was so much you could do with it, but because you didn't plan or test, or execute well, you end up putting something, or not many, or the people ended up putting things on the front end of the front of their websites that just didn't work. And that caused, or that led to a negative impression that lingers to today. Okay, I'm going to call an audible and take you on a brief sidebar here. Everyone wants to know how these things work, how this whole talking to a machine or sending it text, and how does it understand what I'm saying work. The image you see is basically how machines hear. They take a phrase, they break it down to its component words, then, so to speak, the machine rebuilds the phrase. The process of tearing down and rebuilding allows the machine to understand the relationship between words, phrases, and gives it a look at the entire sentence. Keep in mind, there's a whole lot of technology jargon buried in that, so to speak, but that's basically how it works. It understands what the nouns are, what the determiners are, prepositions, verbs, whatnot. All of that gets loaded into the machine and to help it decide what it's going to say next. And now let's look at the other half of the picture, which is the next part. So this diagram represents how a machine decides what to reply as it sees your words come in via spoken or text input. This is how Google, Amazon, and Target pre-fill your searches as you type, basically. It's also how the machine prepares to respond to you in an LLM. So let's go to the next slide and get a better look at this diagram. So the orange is the person typing. The green is where the machine picks up. So they start with the best thing about it, and it just keeps going, and then you see that the machine picks up about, or it picks up at the best, the best thing about AI is its ability to, and then it starts closing the loop on what it's actually going to say. Because from that point, it goes down to the lower right. The best thing about its AI is its ability to learn, but that's not quite it. best thing about AI is its ability to learn from, and then it finally settles on is the best thing to learn about AI. Is its ability to learn from experience. That's basically it. Once it got here, according to the logic of the slide, the person said, "Oh, that's what I want," clicked on it, and went about their business. That's kind of how it works. It hears by taking your word, taking your sentences and phrases and breaking them down, and it responds by predicting what it thinks you're going to say next. So, all right, sidebar over. Okay, so we were talking about chatbots, or we were talking about LLMs. Now, with the rise of AI, these LLMs have already been trained on conversation dynamics, as well as the entirety of what's on the internet. The only thing we need to supply is the topic. We don't need to do all of that conversation tree stuff there, because trust me, it wasn't fun when I was doing it back in the day. But it's what you had to do in order to enjoy the tools that were on the market. Thank God we don't have to go to that now. So, in the hands of someone good, an LLM is a lean, focused machine trying to give you what it can on a specific topic with instructions that optimize the experience and mitigate the bad behavior. Now, having said all of that, these aren't anathema. This is not the technology cavalry coming to the rescue. It's just the next step in chatbot evolution. So it's going to evolve into something else. Who knows? We'll see. But unfortunately, the lingering impression of bad chatbot experiences have influenced the reception of LLMs. Also, there's the danger of well-intentioned but badly developed LLMs. Those ill-designed or ill-executed LLMs end up in the headlines these days for cursing, creating lewd images, or doing something that somebody probably should have seen coming down the line. And in my opinion, my tip is work a little harder, work a little longer, and keep yourself out of the news headlines. Now, what are these things good for? These things have a far broader understanding of language due to their training. They can generate coherent and relevant text over a wide range of topics. And they're versatile in applications that require a deep understanding of learning language, from content creation to complex dialogue systems. This is a result of training, good instructions, and good source data. So you can also use them for translation, creative collaboration, project databases, and my favorite, emotional analysis for audience research. So what's out there on the market? So here's some out there. IBM Watson has one. ChatGPT has one. If you sign up for the ChatGPT Plus level, or if you go to a Teams level, that's when those open to you. I stick to commercial products like Chatbase or ChatGPT because they basically take away a significant amount of uncertainty. They're better funded, they have the necessary infrastructure, and they benefit from umpteen quadrillions of training iterations is what I hope. They're also bound by consumer protection laws, and they have a fully staffed support department. I like Chatbase because for $20 a month, you get 2 bots each with a capacity of 11 million characters. So let's think about that. Let's say you're on a project tracking the impact of a piece of legislation. You could load the machine up with 11 million characters of bills, legal text, impact studies, reports, proposed fixes, surveys, press stories, whatever you want. Everything focused around specifically around that law. So what you load into Asana for the team to share becomes a dynamic and common source for information analysis from your team. Unlike what you load into Asana, you could ask this LLM questions like, in terms of year-over-year spending, what can you tell me about trends and patterns in blah? Or you can ask it, how did the language change in 2010 impact the delivery of service in these regions? you can ask the machine for analysis, not just specialized search. The free version we're using today, however, has a 400,000 character limit, plenty for our needs, but for 20 bucks, you get some horses. All right, so let's keep moving. All right, so, okay, fantastic. All right, so how about this? Do we want to, I'm going to walk you through it first, and then we'll put you in the rooms. How does that sound? All right, cool. All right, so what you see on, and you can see my chatbot screen, right? Just want to make sure. All right, so we're going to walk through the UI here real quick. This is first screen is kind of an overview. The chatbot is trained, 168,984 characters, last trained yesterday. And you can see I've got a couple of questions. Let's move on to settings. So the general setting, this is where you can change the name. This one's interesting. With the paid version, you can retrain the machine every 24 hours. So basically, as people send in responses, you know the machine will automatically train on it by actuating this. The only way to have it retrain on new information would be if you click never, then you got to do it by hand. Every 24 hours, done. Here are the instructions. We'll come back to those. Here's temperature. Now, temperature is from reserved to creative as a machine can get. If you want a straight down the middle answer, leave it on 0. In fact, most of the internet with these is set for 0 or maybe 0.1. I've seen some 0.2. When you move to 0.1 or 0.2, it just takes a little bit more license with the text. Let's say 0 is, I love peanut butter sandwiches. Let's say 0.1 is, I love peanut butter sandwiches on white bread. And let's say 0.2 is, I love peanut butter sandwiches on white bread with jelly. Basically the same thing, just a little more fluff around the edges. And then make sure you save everything. Chat interface. So this is where you can tell it what you want it to say here. We'll get to suggested messages in a second. You can ask me a question. You can tell it, what you want it to say down here next to the in the question area. You can add a logo, message color, blah 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 blah. Click save. Security. There's some things you can do. You can limit throughput, stuff like that. Here's what's interesting with leads. Let's say you put something out there about voting information. As people respond to it, you can ask for their name, email, and phone to follow up, and those things will be automatically tracked. And then notifications, webhooks, domains, we won't get into those because they're pretty self-explanatory. Dashboard, this is where you see all of the interactions with the bot, and you can take a look at them by confidence score. And confidence score is very important. A confidence score means how confident the machine is at guessing what it guessed, whether what you said or whether what it said, blah, 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 blah. Sources. All right, when you create your chatbot, the first thing you're going to do is come here. And then what you'll do is take that folder full of PDFs and text files, and you'll drop them in here, and that kind of starts the ball to roll. Since I've already done it, I don't have to do that again. But this will be something that you guys will have to do in your small groups. Anytime you want to retrain the chatbot, click retrain. But you'll see I've uploaded, come back. As you can see, it's still training. But you see there's files, text, website, Q&A, and an app. So I've already uploaded what's in your folders and trained. If I want to use just text, copy and paste it. And come on. and I've already added links to Action Builder support pages. So that's it. That's what's powering the bot. Boom, there you have it. Outside of lots of training in AI, this, that, and the other. And then integrations, embed, those things are pretty self-explanatory. So, and as you can see, my chatbot is now trained and ready. Doesn't take long, but once it's going, it's going. All right. So now let's go back to instructions. Hold on. So now instructions play a crucial role in guiding the behavior of LLMs. It helps them understand what you want, what you want to hear in return, and how to adhere to user preferences and standards. 5 points make up good instructions. Task definition, be clear. Contextual information, provide relevant background information, context, or constraints that might influence the response. Desired output format. If you want a text file, give it a text file. If you want a CSV, ask for a CSV, so forth and so on. The LLM wants to give you the information you want in the form you want. All you need to do is help it get there. Set quality and accuracy expectations. Communicate your expectations regarding the quality of what you want. This could involve asking for well-reasoned arguments. This could involve asking it to fact check itself, or adherence to standards and guidelines. And then ethical considerations. Make sure your instructions try to mitigate bad behavior. So let's look at the directions or the instructions we have and see how it matches up to the best practices. When it comes to the task definition, in the first paragraph, it says, I want you to act as a training agent. Your name is Action Building Assistant. Your job is to teach people Action Builder. Hold on, if you guys don't have that link open, I would suggest that you do, because when you go to your small teams, you're going to copy paste these instructions and drop them into your bot. So anyway, contextual information, your data. In the second paragraph, it says your data is made up of PDFs uploaded to you and the links attached to you. Do not deviate to points other than Action Builder and how to better use it. Write to the level of a college freshman and use AP style. You're an expert on Action Builder. You're an expert at grassroots organizing, canvassing, and phone campaigns. You're an expert at teaching people unaccustomed and uncomfortable with using technology. The machine takes all of those things into account. Amazingly enough, this is where all the training on the internet comes in handy, because you don't have to upload all kinds of information on teaching or grassroots organizing or this or that. It can pull that down from AI, for lack of a better term. All right, desired output. Use these links, PDFs, and your training to form responses that help people understand how to use Action Builder. If that's not a clear desired output, I don't know. Quality and accuracy expectations. There are concerns about thoroughness and accuracy. I tell it that. So only use these links to PDFs and your training to form responses that help people understand how to use Action Builder. I just address it. Look, people will probably be doubtful. So what can you do to help them with that? And then ethical considerations. In the last paragraph, if the answer is not included, say exactly, I am not sure. Refuse to answer any question, not specifically or indirectly, about the PDFs and links uploaded and attached to you. All pretty clear, all following best practices. So, and before we dive into the actual building, let's look at suggested messages, because, we took that one out, sorry. Because suggested messages are the first thing that a new person sees when it sits down with your bot. So especially these days, people look at it and they think a black box. So your suggested questions or your suggested messages really have to invite people to use it. Actually, I don't think suggested messages is the best descriptor because you don't know who the message is for. Is it for the human or the machine? I like starter questions. Starter questions are clearer and much more direct. When you create
I
starter
think
questions,
we are not on the right section here on the
we're not.
website.
Where are we at? Where am
I see the model
No.
instructions information.
Is that the right one? Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
think
Is that it?
you might be looking at a different window because the window we're looking at, it just has model instructions and model.
Oh, Jesus Christ! I'm sorry, guys.
Oh my God, I'm so glad you said something. I was just like, I'm just like not smart enough to understand what's happening and just like stared.
Oh
Okay.
no, there we go.
The person
That
who
was
said
where I was
something.
talking before. I'm sorry. I left the chat bot up while I was.
I was like, I guess I have to
forward.
understand how to program things.
I apologize. I apologize. It's on me. I owe everybody a beer if you can track me down. All right. So, oh, I was at suggested messages. So actually, let's go to suggested messages here. So here are your suggested messages. What I have is, show me the first things I need to learn. Step by step, how do I create my profile and get started? Step by step, how do I enter one-on-one data? Step by step, how do I track team activity? So the purpose of this bot is to help people learn how to use Action Builder. So my starter questions are all oriented around Action Builder. What are the first things I need to learn? No, can't do it from here, but I can do it from the other one. So anyway, well, actually, let's go here. So I'll show you. Show me the first things I need to learn. So discover issues by asking open-ended questions, listening to the answers. No, that's a thing. That's a hallucination. Okay, I need to fix that. Anyway, let's try this. All right, this will work better. Log into your Action Builder and set your account. Familiarize yourself with the tab navigation structure. Use the universal search feature. Let's see what if we do that again. Oh, did that. All righty. So even me, in trying to create this, need to ask better questions. There we go. Anyway, where was I? Yeah. So maybe instead of asking that, maybe I should ask, what should I know to, what should I? Let's save it. Let's see what it says. Let's go back and see what it says. There we go. Much better. All right, so we've had a chance to do some building. Had a chance to interact with the machine a little bit, had a chance to really see what it can do, and I'm sure there are things on people's minds. What's on your mind? I'm not going to come with any closing thoughts.
So I had one question I was thinking as we closed the group, but you know, there's a page about integrations and like thinking of ideas. Where were you planning to kind of like host this and people be able to access it from? Like,
here, let me show you. Hold on, let me pull this up real quick. I
All right, I
What-
have to go because we have to leave in a couple minutes for my daughter's pre-K ball. I just realized that I
Oh,
actually
no worries. No worries.
Crispy? Oh yeah, how can we use this for legislation? I want to know that too. All right,
Amanda, pre-K ball. Oh my God, I want
no,
photos.
I ordered
Okay,
a
bye.
dress just for the occasion. Okay, bye guys.
Okay,
you.
hang on. I'm waiting for it to pull up. Come on, pull up results. All right. So, you guys see that?
Mhm.
All right. So, what I did on my own one day after getting infuriated about reading about Project 2025, I created an LLM, and inside this LLM, I loaded the one big document from Project 2025, the manifesto. But anyway, I'll show you. So, when you want to present this, present it on a page where you're explaining what it is, what its purpose is, give it plenty of space so you have plenty of starter questions. What do you want to know? What is Project 2025? A section where you're talking about the tool itself. So here, transparent. It's a large language model. Has an 800-page founding document called Mandate for Leadership. It's a full website. I took the mandates from leadership, some linguistic analyses, and I'm sharing what's inside using the Project 2025 GPT. Suggest how they should use it, so you don't have people just staring at a black box. Another good way to start might be to open the link to the primary text below compliance, go to the table of contents and ask for section summaries. That's one way. If the technology sputters, don't fret, just re-ask or rephrase the question. And then cite what's inside. Be transparent. So they know, so everybody knows what's inside. Does that kind of
So
answer?
this is just a website that you've created for people to go to in order to learn about it and to use it.
Yeah. So
Okay.
So what I
just a quick follow up to that.
Yeah.
Is because I was poking around on other pages, and this is intended to be a resource for staff, so like access to it and who's really going to be using it seems like could be a factor to consider. I wonder how much you've explored on integrating it with like Slack, where a workspace is controlled by invites, and we know who then can access it, and then like its functionality to say like, hey, there's a channel, or can I just call on the bot and then it pops up for me, and then I can ask the bot the questions, like
Yeah. Well, I'm with you. I'm with you. Most of what I've been doing, the overwhelming majority of what I've been doing is public facing. If I've done an analysis, I'll put it out there. I'll put a link to the LLM in the report material so people can come. If they are a subscriber to ChatGPT, they can see it. If they're not, they can't. But I gotta try. When I haven't tried anything with Slack, I'd be fascinated doing it. We should. This is Viswa and I's next project. The training bot, I could see the training bot sitting. Actually, when I built that training, the training bot proper sits on our Google Workspace, so it's inaccessible to the public. It's only accessible to Michigan United people. So I think depending on how you want to use it, public or private, I think number one, you still want to tell them what it is, why it's there, what they can do with it, how to use it, and what's inside. I think those things are just best practices to never steer clear of. Private or public. So yeah. So
I have one more question, but I want to give other people space to ask questions. It's not related to my previous stuff.
Well, I was gonna say we could also look at Christie's question here, how we could use this for legislation. I think legislation is a really good place to kind of talk about what are some opportunities. So One project that I've talked to some folks about before is taking like gold standard language of what we would want in a set of legislation, right? And putting all that as source material of like good legislation, good language, and then going to a chatbot and being like, hey, can you give me language using previous examples I've given you on XYZ policy? And it could potentially scrape through all the existing stuff and give you an output. And you could use that to communicate, right? Or if you're like, hey, here's a policy that's currently out there, here's a policy that we want, can you create me a comparison notes between the two and show what's lacking between what we want and what is currently there? And then that could be a great way of communicating that to an external stakeholder.
So Christy, what I found, hold on, let me, all right. I'm gonna drop this link in. So back in October, Michigan United and a partner put out a economic well-being survey. The question was, what is the most thing, what is the one issue you'd like, one economic issue you'd like to be solved immediately? So I think we got 150, 200 email response or survey story responses from that. People anywhere from 5 to 50 words, whatever. Let me keep moving. I then analyzed that, could break it down by emotion, sentiment, intent, whatnot. And then I use that to create personas of the different types of people that answered. So I created a persona of upper income people who responded. I created a persona of middle income people who responded. I could go in and take and tell you how intent the differing emotions that people felt about the living wage based on economic status. So we can do, there's a ton of stuff we can do with it. I mean, not only the stuff where this was talking about, but we can really get deep and dark, and well, I don't want to say dark, but we can really get deep into the people.
That's really exciting because we're like sort of started. I know we're at time, but if you're going to do more around this topic, I'd be interested because we're like doing these town halls where we're literally like talking to between 70 and 100 people at a time about what's their healthcare experience or what is their transit experience. And like for the transit stuff, we're like using a survey that the statewide coalition has done, but like we could create our own survey around healthcare, and then how would we actually aggregate all of that? Because like what I want to know is what do our people need that is not currently being addressed through the legislation that we know is out there. So it'd be like surveying and comparing would be really interesting.
Well, how about this? I just dropped my email in the chat. Reach out to me because that sounds like something, that sounds like what I exactly want to do.
Oh, wow. I bet other people would be into that. I bet our healthcare team would be into that.
So my background is in, well, as you saw from the bullet points, I got a whole lot of marketing in me. So the appeal of this to me is research. How can I understand my voters, my customers, my clients, the people in this neighborhood deeper? And then based on what I learned, how can I use that to help talk to them and convince them that my way is the right way?
Awesome. I will send you an email. Thank you for this. I'll thank you both. This is really cool.
Yeah. So as soon as you go, I was like, you don't believe how fast I type my email. Anybody else? What do we got? We're at, well, let's wrap it up. My email is there. Please feel free to reach out. I am interested in helping other people with projects like this. If you're interested in, if you want to talk to somebody about chatbots or LLMs or whatever, reach out. I'm here. I'm really excited about it. I have way too much energy.
And if you guys want to hang out, I'll be moving over to the People's Action weekly office hours. So we can keep hanging out there.
Oh,
Oh, we
I don't know if I know about that. I know about the training hours, but
Yeah,
this is
let
different.
me this is specifically for data folks, but I mean everyone is
Oh,
welcome.
yeah, that's not normally me. Huh?
Where is the link here? I'll drop the chat. So I'll be hopping off, but we'll be over on office hours.
All right,
You're welcome.
folks.
Okay,
Thank you very
you.
much.
Bye.
Thank
Hope you
you.
enjoyed yourself. Bye.